The CEO Next Door by Elena Botelho and Kim Powell. Many of us might think that CEOs of major global companies often come from wealthy families, or they are people with extraordinary intelligence or with the highest university degrees from the most famous universities. To refute this belief, the two authors review at the beginning of the book a statistical study that included more than 2,600 CEOs. Its results show that, contrary to the popular belief, most of the CEOs are just ordinary people who have developed extraordinary leadership qualities throughout their careers. In this study, more than 70% of CEOs indicated that they were not planning to become CEOs when they started their careers. Let's take Don Slager as an example. Slager is currently the CEO of Republic Services. It's a company working in the field of waste disposal and valued at $9 billion, and it's on the list of the 500 largest companies in the United States. When he joined the company, Don Slager hadn't finished any university education. Therefore, he started his work in the company as a waste collector. Through his career progression, Slager eventually became a president of one of the most well-known waste processing companies in the United States. His knowledge of work details and customer requirements, in addition to the skills he acquired during his progression in the various departments of the company, was one of the most important things that made him the best candidate for the presidency of the company. Bit to remember: super intelligence and higher degrees are not a requirement for the success of CEOs. Successful presidents are not born, but they are made during their careers. As we learned, a university degree is not a condition for the success of the CEO. A high IQ also is not a prerequisite for success. In fact, CEOs with higher IQs often suffer from what's called information paralysis. And it's a phenomena that means the attempt of a person to examine all the data in detail before making any decision, which leads him in the end to confusion and refraining from making a decision. We may approach this phenomena with what Barry Schwartz explained in his book, The Paradox of Choice. The CEO is usually required to make a lot of important decisions on a daily basis. There are many different styles of decision-making, such as detailed thinking or impulsivity, or arbitration logic or decisiveness. Among these options, successful CEOs often choose the decisiveness option, which means the ability to make a decision quickly and responsibly. In addition, speed is one of the reasons for a successful decision. Usually, a general decision is much better than a detailed one. To illustrate this point, let's take a look at Steve Gorman, who in 2003 took charge of the popular Greyhound public transport company. In 2003, the company was in debt equivalent to $140 million. To deal with the deteriorating financial situation, Steve had an offer to either divide the company's fleet by regions and sell parts of it to other investors, or to increase the price of transport tickets. Steve Gorman had to decide very quickly. Instead of consulting with the sales team, Steve looked at the map of the United States and compared it to a Greyhound bus route map. Then Steve made a bold decision to immediately stop all buses serving low-density residential zones. Thanks to this crucial decision, Greyhound Company made annual profits of $30 million in just 4 years. Bit to remember: the successful CEO tends to rely on decisiveness and speed while making decisions. From the middle of the last century until the late 1990s, Kodak was the world leader in the camera and imaging equipment market. During that period, conventional cameras with developed films were the leading product in the imaging industry. In addition to that, Kodak was working on developing the first digital camera. And although Kodak succeeded in manufacturing the first digital camera in 1975, it abandoned the idea of introducing it to the market. as it thought it might harm the digital camera market that was led by Kodak. Then it became clear that the decision to introduce the digital camera or not was a fateful moment in the history of Kodak, as it was one of the most important reasons for Kodak to declare bankruptcy in 2012. Likewise, the same applies to the famous American video rental company, Blockbuster, which despite it had the opportunity to enter the digital market and introduce its products to the internet, it abandoned the idea several times, until Netflix came and acquired the film and TV programs market and forced Blockbuster to declare bankruptcy. In contrast, we find Intel company which makes processors for computers. When it saw that Japanese companies began making computer memory chips more cheaply, it realized that it needed to act quickly. As a result, Intel was forced to reduce its profits from $198 million in 1984 to $2 million the following year, just in order to compete with Japanese companies while maintaining its presence in the global market. After taking this step, Intel decided to abandon manufacturing of memory chips and focus entirely on producing microprocessors. As a result of Intel's adaptation to the new business landscape, its market value increased from $4 billion in the mid-1980s to $197 billion today. But remember, one of the qualities of a successful CEO is to forget the successes of the past and to be ready to adapt to future market changes and trends. In a study of nearly 2,600 CEOs, it was found that 60% of those who quickly climbed the corporate ladder had started in lower positions within much smaller firms. This is because smaller companies accept change and new ideas faster than larger companies, which usually don't leave enough space to accept employees' personal opinions. In addition to this, it's easier to notice the achievements of the normal employee in small companies than in large companies. Therefore, if the company's management becomes aware of the employee's efforts and realizes that his ideas have directly contributed in the growth of the company, or maximizing the profits or the reduction of the costs, then the normal employee will be in the spotlight and under the direct attention of the company's management. For example, when Damien McDonald was given a choice between a managerial position at Johnson & Johnson Company and a head of a department position at Zimmer Medical Devices, Damien chose to work for Zimmer even though its capital is only 5 per thousand of Johnson & Johnson's capital, which is estimated to be $50 billion. Damien was aware that the maximum growth rate he could achieve for Johnson & Johnson wouldn't exceed 1% to 2% due to the size of the company. After that, it was found that Damien had chosen the right choice, as Zimmer witnessed during his tenure a remarkable growth of 12%. Then in 2016, the medical device company LivaNova was impressed by Damien's achievements at Zimmer's company and offered him the CEO position. But remember, starting your career in a small company may be one of the best ways to prepare yourself for higher positions in large companies. Thanks for watching. Please follow our social media accounts. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel.